He stopped for fuel at a proper truck stop just south of Salmon, Idaho, fueled up, ate a burger that tasted of nothing, and called his dispatcher. Denise picked up on the second ring, her voice cheerful and distracted the way she always was at this hour, surrounded by her bank of monitors and her cold coffee. "Everything on track?" she asked. "I went through a town," Marcus said. "Velum, Idaho, do you know it?" A pause. He could hear her keyboard. "Velum," she said. "No, nothing comes up." "You sure that's the name?" "It was on the sign." "I'm showing nothing in Idaho by that name. Could be a ghost town, old miners' settlement. There are a lot of those up that way." "Pop 412, Marcus said. There were buildings. Open businesses." "Huh," another pause. "I don't know what to tell you, Marcus. My map shows 93 going straight through to Salmon. No towns between the state line and there except for Shoshone and Carey, and those are south of you now." He thanked her and hung up. He sat in the parking lot for a moment and then, because he had nothing else to do with it, opened the calendar to October 15th for the fourth time. The map was gone. In its place, a single notation in that familiar red handwriting. In the corner of the date square, small but legible. "Highway 28 to Holloway Road. Do not stop for anyone walking the road." Highway 28 was his next turn north on his dispatcher's route. He drove it. He took it north as darkness fell again on the second evening, the sky going through its sequence of orange and purple and ink blue, while the mountains around him turned to silhouettes, and then to pure darkness. Highway 28 was empty, beautiful in the way that very dangerous things are beautiful. The pavement arrow straight across, a high sage plain with mountain ranges ranked on either side like walls. Holloway Road was a turnoff at mile marker 84. No sign, just a paved road going east into the mountains. His route did not call for it. His dispatcher had not mentioned it. But the calendar had. Marcus turned onto Holloway Road. He had driven perhaps 4 miles when his headlights caught the first figure, a man, walking on the right shoulder, heading east, wearing a trucker's jacket, the kind with the foam-padded quilted lining. Dark green, the universal garment of road workers and long-haul drivers. Thumbing a ride. "Do not stop for anyone walking the road." Marcus did not stop. He passed the man at 60 miles an hour, close enough to see the man's face turn toward him, one thumb extended. The face was wrong. Not in the way the hooded figures in Alderman's Pass had been wrong. Those had been wrong in a way he could not describe. This face was wrong in a way he could describe, which was almost worse. He had seen that face before. It was his own. He did not stop. He drove on. And on the next quarter mile he passed another figure. Same jacket, same thumb, same face. And another after that. 6 of them in a mile, all walking east, all his face, all looking at him with an expression he recognized because he had seen it in mirrors on bad mornings, the expression of a man who is very tired and has run out of reasons to keep going. He drove through them and kept going east, and eventually the road climbed into the mountains and then descended. And at the bottom of the descent he found himself back on Route 93, 50 miles north of where he had turned off. He checked the odometer. He had driven 42 miles on Holloway Road, through terrain, he was certain, from the angle of his headlights and the shape of the ridgelines, did not physically have 42 miles of road in it. There is a way station en route. 93 in southern Montana, just past the state line, where the trucks pull off the highway at all hours and a state officer checks weights and documents. Marcus had been through it a dozen times. It was one of the most ordinary things in his working life, a necessary inconvenience, a minute or two of waiting while someone with a clipboard verified that you were carrying what you said you were carrying and that your axle weights were within legal limits. He pulled in at midnight on the second night. The officer who came to his window was a young man, perhaps 25, in a standard Montana DOT uniform. He was completely ordinary in every respect except that when Marcus handed him the manifest and the officer scanned it, the officer's expression changed, just slightly, just for a fraction of a second. But Marcus had been watching faces his entire adult life. had become an expert in the micro-expressions of people who were trying not to show what they were feeling, and he saw it. Something on the manifest frightened the officer. "Everything in order?" Marcus asked. "Just a moment," the officer said. He stepped away from the truck and spoke into his radio, his voice too low to hear. Marcus watched him in the side mirror. The officer was nodding, listening to whoever was on the other end of the radio, and once, very briefly, the officer looked back at the truck over his shoulder with an expression that Marcus could only describe as pity. Then the officer came back. "You're clear," he said. He handed back the manifest. "Drive safely, Mr. Holt." "What's the cargo?" Marcus asked. The officer blinked. "I'm sorry?" "The manifest lists it as industrial freight, sealed containers. I want to know what's actually in them." "Sir, I'm just a weight officer." "I don't—" "What did you see on that manifest that made you call it in?" A long pause. The officer looked at the manifest in Marcus's hand, then at Marcus's face. Whatever he was deciding, he decided against it. "Have a safe drive, Mr. Holt," he said again, and stepped back and waved him forward. Marcus drove north into Montana with the manifest on the passenger seat and the calendar open to October 15th. And the image in his mind of the officer's face, the pity, that was what bothered him most. Not the fear, the pity, the look of a man who knows something terrible is going to happen to someone and knows there is nothing he can do to prevent it. Stopped at 2 a.m. at a wide turnout on a stretch of highway the locals called Blackwater Flat, to a section of Montana plateau where the road ran. Arrow straight for 30 miles across. Land so flat and featureless that on clear nights you could see the headlights of oncoming traffic from 20 miles away and watch them close with a slowness that played tricks on your perception of time. Tonight was not a clear night. The clouds had closed in during the last hour, a solid overcast that cut off the stars and turned the sky into a flat black ceiling, pressing down on the world. There was no wind. The temperature had dropped significantly since he crossed into Montana. He got out to stretch his legs and immediately noticed that it was too quiet. In his experience, nowhere was completely silent. There was always something: wind, insects, a distant train. The creak of temperature changes in the metal of the truck. Even in the most remote places he had ever stopped, there had always been some sound at the edge of perception. Here there was nothing. Not even the sound of his own footsteps seemed to carry properly. The gravel under his boots made a sound that stopped immediately, as though the air itself was absorbing it. He stood by the front of the truck for a moment, listening to nothing. Then he went back for the calendar. The photograph for October had changed again. The truck in the photograph was now stationary, parked, on what was clearly Blackwater Flat. He recognized the particular flat geometry of the horizon, the shape of a distant radio tower. The truck in the photograph was his truck, and he was looking at a photograph of his current position. The timestamp implied by the darkness in the photograph matched the current time. And behind the truck in the photograph, perhaps 100 feet back in the darkness, just barely visible, there was something in the road. Not a figure, not standing, something on all fours, low and wide, with a great many legs facing the truck. Marcus looked up from the calendar. He looked in his mirrors. The road behind him was dark. He could see perhaps 50 feet in the amber glow of his running lights. He did not get out to look. He started the engine and drove. He watched the mirrors for the next 10 miles. Nothing came out of the dark behind him. Nothing appeared in the cone of his headlights. The road was empty and straight and completely, perfectly ordinary. But on the next page of the calendar on October 16th, which would begin in less than 2 hours, in that red handwriting a message was already waiting. It knows the cargo now. It has been following since the pass. Do not open the trailer under any circumstances. Do not stop again tonight. He did not stop. He drove through the rest of the night with both hands on the wheel and both eyes on the road and the radio, playing continuously at low volume, a country station out of Great Falls that faded in and out but never quite disappeared entirely, which was enough. He needed the sound. He needed proof that the world beyond the windshield still contained ordinary things. At 3:47 a.m., between two songs, The DJ said something that stopped his heart for a full beat. "And now a message from our sponsor," the DJ said, in a voice that was unmistakably, impossibly, the voice of Marcus Holt himself. Not a voice similar to his voice. The same pitch, the same slight Montana cadence he had picked up from years of driving through the state. "Marcus, this one's for you. You're doing fine. You're almost there. Just keep driving and don't look in the cargo mirrors. The Helena delivery will be your last." Then a beer advertisement, read in the DJ's normal voice, and a song, and nothing unusual again. Marcus's hand moved to the radio dial. He turned the volume up. He waited. The same DJ spoke again, in his normal voice between songs, about the weather and the time. Just ordinary radio. Just a man doing his job in a warm studio somewhere, completely unaware of what his transmitter had just delivered to a truck cab on a dark Montana highway. "Don't look in the cargo mirrors." His truck had 4 mirrors for the trailer, 2 standard wing mirrors and 2 smaller convex mirrors mounted below them, angled to show the sides of the trailer. He had not used the lower mirrors in hours. He had been deliberately not using them since. Blackwater Flat. He was not entirely sure when he had made that decision or why. He kept not using them for the next 90 miles. At dawn, with the sky going red over the eastern mountains, and the lights of Great Falls appearing on the horizon like a handful of scattered embers, he finally looked. The convex mirror on the right side showed the right side of the trailer, the road surface, the white line of the shoulder. All normal. He held his breath and looked at the left convex mirror. The left side of the trailer. The symbol had spread overnight. The single mark on the rear corner was now a network of marks covering the entire left side of the trailer, dense and precise, and covering every square inch of the metal paneling. In the pink light of dawn they looked black, but he suspected that in better light they would be the same dark red as the markings in the calendar. And on the road surface, just behind the trailer's rear wheels, something was following. Low and wide and wrong, the same thing he had seen in the calendar's photograph, keeping pace with the truck, staying just within the shadow cast by the trailer. He looked at the road ahead. He looked at Great Falls on the horizon. He kept his speed at 65 miles per hour. And he did not look in the left mirror again. He stopped for fuel in Great Falls, in the full light of morning, surrounded by traffic and noise and ordinary human activity, and felt the particular relief of the haunted person who enters a crowd and remembers that the world is mostly normal. He fueled up quickly. He washed his face in the truck stop bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror for a long time, checking, he admitted to himself, that his face was still his face and not something else wearing it. It was his face, tired, pale, with 2 days of stubble and eyes that had the hollow look of a man who has driven through the night and is not sleeping well. But his face. He bought coffee and a newspaper and sat in the cab and made himself read the front page, deliberately anchoring himself to ordinary events, crop prices, city council meetings, a high school football game. The world was normal. He had had a strange couple of nights, and his imagination had gotten away from him, which happens to solo long-haul drivers, which is a documented phenomenon with its own medical literature. Hallucination induced by sleep deprivation and the particular psychological pressure of being alone in the dark for extended periods. He opened the calendar. The photograph for October now showed the Great Falls truck stop. His truck at the fuel pumps. Him visible through the windshield from an angle that would require the photographer to have been standing approximately 30 feet in front of the truck. There was no one standing 30 feet in front of the truck. He looked up and checked. In the photograph, his face through the windshield glass showed an expression he did not currently have. He was currently looking at the calendar with the focused neutrality of a man reasoning through a problem. The face in the photograph was not neutral. It was the face of someone who has just realized something terrible that they cannot unrealize. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, the color drained from the skin. He looked like that for approximately 1 second before he made himself stop. The newspaper was dated today. Everything in it had happened in the normal world on normal days. He folded it carefully and put it in the door pocket and started his engine and pulled north toward Helena. Route 89 north from Great Falls to Helena runs through some of the most dramatic landscape in Montana. The Rockies proper now. The mountains no longer distant ridgelines, but immediate presences. Canyon walls on both sides. The road threading through passes and along river. Valleys with the particular character of a road that knows it exists at the sufferance of the terrain. That the mountains could close it with a rock slide or a season of heavy snow and not notice. Marcus drove the last 80 miles with the calendar closed on the seat beside him. He did not open it. He did not need to. He had the route memorized, and he knew where the warehouse was, and he was going to deliver the cargo and collect his fee and drive home to his apartment in Reno and sleep for 16 hours and then call his dispatcher and tell her he was not driving again until after the weekend. He did not think about the calendar. He did not think about the marks on the trailer, or the thing in the mirrors, or the figure he had seen in vellum, or the 6 versions of himself walking east on Holloway Road. He thought about the highway. He thought about mile markers and speed and the weight of the trailer on the rear axles and the way the wind was pushing from the west and required a slight correction on the wheel. He was a truck driver. He drove trucks. That was what he was doing. 30 miles outside Helena, at the bottom of a long canyon descent, his engine light came on. The engine light was not in itself catastrophic. Engine lights came on for dozens of reasons, most of them minor, and an experienced driver could usually feel the difference between a minor sensor issue and an actual mechanical problem. Marcus felt no change in the engine's behavior. It was running smoothly, without hesitation or missing or any of the sounds that would indicate a real problem. He slowed anyway. Professional caution. The canyon walls rose on either side, red and gray, streaked with pine. The road followed the river below, curving and curving through the tight geography of the canyon. There was no shoulder to speak of, a few feet of gravel, then the guardrail, then a long drop to the river. He turned on his hazard lights and dropped to 40 miles per hour. Then the engine died. Not sputtered, not hesitated. Died. The way an engine dies when someone turns a key off, all at once, with a profound mechanical silence that a truck driver learns to fear, the way a sailor fears dead calm. His power steering went with it, and the brakes went to manual. And he worked both carefully, no sudden movements, no panic, walking the truck to a stop on the narrow gravel strip beside the guardrail. He sat for a moment in the silence, in the mountain canyon, with the sound of the river far below and the sound of wind in the pines. He turned the key. The engine did not start. He checked the fuel gauge. 3/4. Checked the battery light. Nothing. He tried the radio. Dead. He tried his phone. No service, which in a canyon this deep was not surprising but was deeply unhelpful. He sat. The sound of the river. The sound of wind. Then, very faintly, from the locked and sealed trailer behind him, a sound. He would not have heard it over the engine noise or the radio. He could barely hear it in the silence. But it was there, knocking. From inside the trailer. Rhythmic, deliberate. The sound of something knocking on the inside of a metal door. Marcus sat with his hand on the door handle for what felt like a very long time. The knocking continued, regular, patient, as though whatever was making it had all the time in the world, and was not particularly invested in whether the door was opened or not. It was knocking as statement, not as appeal. The calendar was on the seat beside him. He opened it without looking away from the trailer doors visible in his right mirror. October 16th. He had not looked at today's page. The symbol on it was the door, the shape he had seen in the early pages of the calendar, the shape like an opening, like a threshold. Below it, the handwriting, "You were chosen to carry this because you have driven these roads. You know the roads know you. What is in the trailer cannot be named in any language you speak. It should not be opened. It has been trying to be opened since Alderman's Pass. The knocking will stop at dawn. The knocking stopped, not gradually, immediately. Between one knock and the next, silence. Marcus sat for another minute. Then he tried the engine. It started on the first turn of the key, running perfectly, as though nothing had ever been wrong with it. He drove on to Helena. He did not get out to look at the trailer. He did not look in the mirrors. He kept his eyes on the road ahead and he drove. And the last 30 miles were the longest miles he had ever driven in his 19 years on the highway. The Helena distribution warehouse was a long, low building on the industrial north side of the city, surrounded by chain-link fence and security lighting that turned everything within it into a stage set, flat, harshly lit with sharp shadows that cut across the loading dock and the asphalt yard like lines drawn on a diagram. Marcus backed the trailer to the dock at 11:47 p.m., which put him 13 minutes inside his contract deadline. Two men in high-visibility vests came out to receive the cargo. They were efficient, professional, and notably incurious. They checked his manifest against their own clipboard, counted the container seals without breaking them, and directed him to pull through to the exit. "That's it?" Marcus said. "That's it, Mr. Holt. You're not unloading it." The nearer man looked at him with a flat, professionally neutral expression. "Our crew handles that separately." "When?" "After you leave." He handed Marcus a receipt. "You've been paid, Mr. Holt. Safe travels." Marcus sat in the idling truck and looked at the receipt. The figure on it was double what his contract had specified, more than he had earned in the previous month combined. He stared at the number for a long time. Then he looked at the men in the high-visibility vests, who had not moved back inside, who were standing at the dock watching him. He drove to the exit gate, which opened automatically. He pulled through. The gate closed behind him. In his right mirror, he watched the warehouse. The two men were opening the trailer doors. He drove away before he could see what was inside. He checked into a motel on the south side of Helena. A budget place, 12 units in an L shape around a parking lot, with a vending machine that dispensed cigarettes, alongside candy bars and an ice machine that worked intermittently. He paid cash. He parked the truck in the lot. He went to his room, sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the calendar. He had been carrying it for 2 nights. He had not examined it fully. Now, in a lit room, with the door locked and the curtain drawn and the rest of the world absent, he went through it page by page. Every month had been annotated. Every month had its markings, the symbols, the handwriting, the additions that appeared between one viewing and the next. The annotations described routes, roads, stops, and events. They described a complete driving life, his driving life, the specific routes and locations he had traveled over 19 years. The calendar was not predicting his future. Not exactly. It was documenting something that had been happening for 19 years without his knowledge. Things he had passed on night roads without seeing them. Places he had driven through in the dark without understanding what those places were. Cargo he had carried without knowing what it carried. He was not new to this. He had been part of it for a very long time. The final page of the calendar, December 31st. The last day of the year was blank except for one line of red handwriting. The first journey is complete. Rest. The second road awaits you. It has been waiting longer than the first. He slept. For the first time in 2 nights, he genuinely slept, deeply and completely, and the last conscious thought he had before sleep took him was a recognition that the calendar had known he would sleep here, had perhaps arranged for him to sleep here, had perhaps been managing the entire journey with this room as its intended endpoint. He did not dream, or he dreamed of driving, which in his life amounted to the same thing. He woke at 6 in the morning to the alarm on his phone and lay in the motel bed, looking at the ceiling and taking inventory of himself. He was intact. He was fed and rested and unhurt. He had driven 840 miles and delivered his cargo on time and been paid double his fee. By any measure that applied to his professional life, the last 2 days had been a success. By any measure that applied to sanity and reason, the last 2 days had been something else entirely. He showered. He dressed. He sat at the small table by the window with the calendar open in front of him and his phone and a cup of coffee from the vending machine in the hall, and he thought as systematically as he could about what he knew. He knew the calendar was real, physically real, cardstock and wire and ink with weight and dimensions. He knew the annotations were real. He had read them, had compared what they said against what he subsequently experienced, and the correspondence was too precise to be coincidence. He knew the cargo was real. He had a receipt, a physical payment, documentation. He did not know who had left the calendar in his truck. He did not know what the cargo had contained. He did not know what had followed him across Montana or what had knocked on the inside of the trailer in the canyon. The historical record did not note what had happened to him. There was no death record. There was simply an absence where a man and 12 other men had been. The survey company that had filed the original claims was named, per the archive records, Holt Transport and Mineral Co. Marcus closed the browser. He sat for a moment in the library's quiet, surrounded by ordinary people doing ordinary research. A child at the next terminal was playing an educational game. A retired man was reading his email. The world was normal. He picked up the calendar from his bag and looked at October. He found the page he wanted, October 14th, the first page, the day he had started the journey. The tiny parallel lines, the vanishing point. Beneath it, in the red handwriting, something he had missed because it had been written in the gutter of the page. Along the wire binding, in letters so small they were almost invisible. You are the 19th driver. The road collects its drivers. The road is patient. 19 years. He had been driving for 19 years. He put the calendar back in his bag and drove to the pickup point. The pickup point was a self-storage facility on the eastern edge of Helena, the kind of place where people keep furniture between moves and seasonal equipment and the things they cannot throw away but cannot bear to look at. Unit 741, the same number as his cargo container from the first load, was open when he arrived. A forklift operator was loading sealed metal containers into a trailer that was already hitched to his Peterbilt. Marcus had not given anyone permission to hitch anything to his truck. Who authorized this? He asked the forklift operator, a heavy-set man in a Carhartt jacket who did not look up from his work. Dispatcher, the man said. Manifest is in the cab. I haven't been to my cab yet. Manifest is in the cab, the man said again, identically, as though he had a limited set of phrases and was running through them. Marcus went to the cab. The manifest was on the passenger seat. It listed the cargo as industrial freight, sealed containers, 8 in total. The client was listed as Alderman Holdings, Helena, MT. The delivery point was listed as Tucson, Z. The route was a series of highway numbers he recognized, all secondary roads, all night routes. The pay was quadruple his standard rate. He checked the calendar. November, which he had not yet fully read. The first annotation was on November 1st, which was today. The second road is longer than the first. It is also darker. There are 7 stops before Tucson. You will not be able to bypass any of them. The road will find you. 7 stops. Marcus read the rest of the November annotations, each one corresponding to a date over the next 2 weeks, each one describing a location, each one ending with either a warning or an instruction. The last one, on November 14th, ended with 3 words he had not expected. Bring the calendar. He had been bringing the calendar. He could not have left it behind. It had appeared in his truck. It had followed him through 2 days and 800 miles. It had been in his bag during his library research this morning. He suspected that even if he locked it in a drawer and drove away, it would appear on his passenger seat somewhere north of Reno. But this was the first time the calendar had addressed him directly. The first time it had acknowledged that he was reading it, that there was a dialogue happening. He started the engine. He looked at the sealed containers in his mirrors, now loaded and locked. Another set of numbered cargo whose contents he could not confirm. He thought about 19 drivers. He thought about Elias Alderman and 12 men who had vanished. He drove south out of Helena toward Tucson, toward whatever 7 stops meant, toward the second road. He crossed back into Idaho before midnight, pushing south on US 93 with the plan of cutting east across Nevada and then south to Tucson. The night was clear over Idaho, but as he crossed into Nevada, the fog came up, not gradually, not rolling in from the low spots the way fog normally does, but all at once, a wall of it. His headlights hitting it and suddenly illuminating nothing beyond 20 feet. He dropped to 25 miles an hour. He turned on his fog lights. The calendar was open to November 1st below, the warning about the 7 stops. In handwriting he had not seen there before. First stop, the fog. Drive through. Keep the window closed. He drove through the fog at 25 miles an hour, the road visible only as the white center line, appearing beneath his front tires and disappearing immediately behind them. He could see nothing beyond the fog's wall. Not the shoulders of the road, not the ditch, not the mountains he knew were on either side. In the fog, at intervals he could not measure precisely, there were lights. Not headlights, not the yellow-white light of vehicle headlights. These were smaller, blue-white at ground level, not moving. They appeared on both sides of the road, at different distances, stationary, like something that had put itself down and was waiting. He kept the window closed. He kept driving. He did not count the lights, because he suspected that counting them was not something he wanted to do, that knowing the number would give the number a significance. It would be better not to have. The fog lasted 11 miles by his odometer. On the other side of it, the Nevada sky was clear and full of stars, and the road was empty and normal, and every light visible was a road, light or a ranch light or a star. He breathed. He drove. He did not open the window until he had gone another 20 miles. The second stop was a former silver mining town called Silver Peak, Nevada, which according to his research was still inhabited, barely, perhaps 100 people, a functioning gas station, a post office. He arrived at 3 a.m., which was too late for any business to be open, which suited him because the calendar had been very specific. Silver Peak, do not leave the truck. Roll down the window when you park. Listen, do not speak. Leave when you hear the signal. He parked on Silver Peak's main street, in front of what had once been a hotel, and was now a building with boards over the ground floor, windows and curtains visible in the upper floor windows, suggesting that at least some of the upper floors were occupied. He rolled down the window. He listened. For the first several minutes, he heard nothing unusual, a dog somewhere distant, the creak of a structure settling in the cold, the sound of the wind moving through a street that was built to accommodate the commerce of a busier era and now moved nothing but air and memory. Then he heard the voices. They were coming from the boarded hotel, not words, or not words he could identify as words, but the cadence of conversation, multiple voices overlapping, the way a crowded room sounds. From outside, when you cannot quite make out the individual words but can hear the collective, human sound of speech, as though a large group of people inside the hotel was talking, all at once, urgently. He had been told not to speak. He did not speak. He listened. The voices went on for perhaps 15 minutes, then stopped, all at once. The same way the trailer's knocking had stopped in the canyon between one moment and the next, as though someone had switched off the sound. In the silence that followed, a single voice spoke clearly from somewhere close, not inside the hotel, but on the street, near the truck. A woman's voice, unhurried and clear. Tell Alderman's representative that the ledger is closed. Marcus looked out the window. There was no one on the street. The engine started itself. He had not touched the key. The truck idled, ready. He took the hint and drove south between Silver Peak and the next stop, which the calendar marked as a specific mile marker on US 95 south of Tonopah. Marcus drove through the purest darkness he had ever experienced. The Nevada desert at night. The radio was playing something he did not recognize. Not country, not rock, not any genre he could name. Something slow and rhythmic and vaguely harmonic, like music from a place that had developed music independently of the rest of the world. He turned it up slightly. It was, he realized, actually beautiful. Strange, but beautiful. He looked at the calendar. November the 2nd. The symbol was the eye, the one that had appeared in the first week. The circle with the vertical pupil. Below it, on this road you are visible to things that are normally invisible to you. They have always been here. You have driven through them for 19 years without seeing them. Tonight you can see them if you choose to look. You do not have to. It is your choice. He looked at the desert on his left. At first, nothing. The desert in the margins of his headlights, dark and flat and empty. And then, as though his eyes were adjusting to a light frequency he had not been using, something else. Shapes in the darkness, not rock formations, not brush, not anything with a geological or biological explanation. Shapes that moved, slowly, parallel to the road, as though they were traveling the same direction he was. At the same speed, in the dark beyond his headlights. Not threatening, not approaching, just there. Just moving, things that had always been there, on every road he had ever driven, invisible until this moment. He looked for about 30 seconds. Then he looked at the road ahead. He drove the rest of the stretch looking straight ahead. Some knowledge he was discovering was not improved by having it. The stop at mile. Marker 89 on US 95 was this. He stopped. He sat. He waited for the calendar's instruction, which on November 3rd was, pick up what is in the road. There was nothing in the road when he stopped. He got out and walked to the front of the truck and looked at the road surface. Asphalt, lines, the debris of a well-traveled highway, a lost hubcap, some gravel, a flattened can, and there, directly in front of his right front tire, a small metal object that he would have driven over without noticing it if he had not been looking. He picked it up. It was a key, an old key, the kind made for a padlock, heavy and brass-toned, with a number stamped into the bow, 7741, the same number as his cargo container, the same number as the storage unit in Helena. He turned it over in his fingers. He looked at the dark highway on both sides. He put the key in his shirt pocket and got back in the truck. The calendar's annotation continued below the instruction. You will know when to use it. Far from any city, under heavy cloud cover, no moon. His headlights made a tunnel, and everything outside the tunnel was absolute. He was fine with this. He was, fundamentally, a creature of exactly this, the tunnel of light. The darkness beyond, the road ahead. This was where he lived. This was what he knew.